Now we will be looking into environmental aspects. Aspects are the key points where impact happens. Impact and aspects are two sides of the coin. The ISO 14001 2015 indicates aspects should be considered for three processes. What are they? They are activities, products and services. If you do any activity and industry, you should check the aspect, or manufacturing any products, you have to check aspect. And third thing is services. Now I have highlighted image here. Industry is producing something. What are the aspect an industry should focus on is, can you see this? Emissions. The industry emits. So this is one aspect. Now next thing is, the industry has planted some trees. This is also an aspect. Wherever you have industry, you can see number of plantations or green will be available around it. So this is also an aspect. Aspect could be either negative or positive. Both could be there. Industry could also provide negative aspect during a production. So aspects are the key points which helps to identify the impact. What impact does an industry creates? You can identify once if you identify the aspects. Compare thermal power plant in one case, compare windmill in one case. Aspect for windmill and what are the aspect for thermal power station? Thermal power station also produces current, windmill also produces current. Now, what are the aspect in both? Who create positive aspect and who create negative aspect? Windmills are positive aspect. Why? Because it is renewable energy. It creates the electricity. Its aspect is positive. Now, thermal or steam power station, it uses coal and it gives same electricity. So, these are the example of our today's topic. So, if aspect can be either positive or negative. Now, not only windmill purely provides a positive impact. Where to install the windmill is a key process. Generally, where you can see windmills, areas you can see, then you see in any city or town, residential areas you cannot see. But we have seen in hills. Other thing is installing windmills in ocean or near sea. Have you seen near seas? They will install windmill. Why? Because the current or the wind flow will be high nearby the seashore. So when you compare the top of the hill versus when you are comparing it to nearby seashore, the wind flow will be higher in the seashore. So installing the windmill is a process. Where to install is another question mark. So windmill also provide noise pollution. Have anybody gone near to the windmill? There will be a noise. Continuously 24 hours you will be having a noise. If anyone is adjacent to the windmill, they will be having a noise pollution. Now in last module I have discussed what do you mean by noise pollution. Noise pollution is how much decibel should be there. More than 65 decibel is called noise pollution. So if windmill is there continuously, it will rotate. So the noise disturbance will be there for the people who are around. So noise pollution is a sub-parameter which happens. So like that we have to check the activities of whatever we do for generating electricity or creating some products or services. Yes. Next thing is, the impact is a parallel or opposite point of aspect. Any aspect interacts with the environment which will create a potential hazard. Can you see vehicles? Does it create impact on or aspect on environment? Does vehicle create any aspect, positive aspect or negative aspect? If you are using vehicles from running the vehicles from diesel or petrol, it is a negative aspect. Electric vehicle, then it is a positive aspect. The vehicle is also an aspect here. This comes under supply and chain. Example is planting of trees. Recycling is another terminology for aspects. In all, identifying all aspects, it can be both negative and positive. Now, you are running a generator in your industry. what kind of aspects will be there? So there will be smoke which will be exhausted for a diesel generator. So that is a negative aspect. Again, ISO 14000 gives the aspect and impact example. Can you see here, organization has to give a product to the people, to the consumer. If they are selecting a restaurant offers a takeout. So what do you mean by takeout? So you will be not having your breakfast or lunch there, you will be taking for your place. That is called takeout. So when you are taking out, you need parcels. The parcels, if you are using plastic container, can pollute the ocean. This is called aspect. Restaurant takes an aspect of takeout. When soon this aspect or this policy comes into an organization, these secondary things happens. What are secondary things? One is aspect and another one is impact. So if they are using plastic containers, this aspect will have plastic harm to the environment. This will not degrade and this will harm the aquatic living beings. So these are the example for that. Now ISO 14001 requirements for environmental aspect. A company wants to have a positive aspect. What they have to do? They have to establish and maintain a procedure. What procedure they have to maintain? Regarding products and services, whatever they do, they have to monitor. First thing. Next thing is identify and determine significant impact on environment. Once aspect is determined, impact can be found out. Prioritizing the aspect. Which aspect has to be first and last? You have to sort it out. Sort from number 1, highly impactable and less impactable. You have to sort it out for continual improvement and consider the life cycle stages. Every product have its own cycle, starting from manufacturing, consuming, then reusing or recycling to the disposal. Examples are, the company can always opt energy efficient purchasing policy. This is one of the aspect what the organizations can do. Next thing is disposal. During their disposal, they have to segregate their waste and dispose. How to segregate? The waste can be degradable, non-degradable, and electronic waste, then metal parts, hazardous waste, they can separate. This is called sorting out or segregation of waste. If any problem occurred in an organization, they can opt for fixing it rather than replacing. There are two options. You can fix whatever is existing or you can replace. You have to choose the wiser one. Environmental management is an entire process. You have to check in the entire process for the same. Now categorizing the aspect. These 6 categories are given by the guideline ISO 14001 in Annex A. First one is emission to air. Environment consists of 5 elements: air, water, fire, ether, soil. These are the 5. Now first parameter is air. Second thing is water. They have to take number 2 as releases to water. How much of effluent they discharge after processing or after producing a product, which has to be taken as second. First one is air, second one is water or effluent. Third one is waste management. Waste management is solid waste. How much of solid waste is being disposed from an industry. Zero waste is an option for, or zero disposal is an option for industry. When they opt for zero disposal, how much of solid waste is being dumped? Solid waste, it might be hazardous or non-hazardous waste. Then contamination of land. This is soil. Consumption of natural resources and raw material. What raw materials they consume should be taken. Consumption of natural resources, how much they consume. is one of the aspect, and sixth one is other environmental issues, particularly to the local community. It might be noise, odors. So these six has to be considered as the aspect. Apart from this, there might be chemical release or toxic substance. Toxic substance could also provide odor. Chemical release can also provide odor. Following are the examples of aspects and impact. First one, generation of electricity in coal fired power stations. You can see by using this coal, they provide electricity. Now, another column is given here called aspect, and the third one is impact. Now, when doing a process of generation of electricity, what aspect considered? Coal. They mine the coal. Next one, impact. What impact happens when mining a coal? It takes thousands and thousands of years. Once if they consume, the humans cannot interfere that natural state. So, loss of finite natural resources. Extracting coal is a finite. One day it is going to end. So, that is why it is the impact. Next thing is emission of acidic acids. So, not only during extraction of coal, when you are using the coal, there comes a process of acidic gases which emits, and this pollutes the plants and animals, etc. This is called impact. Next one, emission of carbon dioxide, and during the emission of carbon dioxide, what impact happens? Climate change. Second one is generation of electricity by wind turbines. So wind turbines can be a renewable source of energy, but if you provide wind turbines nearby sea, it will not harm the environment. The noise pollution will not harm the people. So this has to be taken as a priority. Windmills can also be installed in this hills. Which is the best place to install windmill? Either hill or nearby sea. Nearby sea is the best option. If some countries do not have the option of sea, those countries will be opting in this area. But if you have option nearby seashore, that is the best place. In England, United Kingdom, they preferred maximum seashore for generating the electricity. Why? Because you have high wind flow, the noise pollution will not affect the people and those who are surrounding. So this is one of the aspects are zero emissions during generation, location on hill, this is one of aspect. Noise when the turbines are moving, what happens? Its impact is noise pollution will be created, visual impacts. Now next thing is, we are using oil based paint. After consuming that paint, you will be having a little bit of paint. Then if it is disposed outside, that harms the natural soil or the river. Can you see, this is a river. This river is contaminated nearby a paint industry. When throwing out the left out paints, what happened? This has polluted the river, and the chemical affected the aquatic living beings here. So emissions of solvent during the use, this create photochemical ozone during the production process of paints, and disposal also create pollution. Next one is transportation of goods. You can choose coal based products, is one aspect. This creates natural resources losses, etc. You can read and understand this. Now areas where the aspect occur. The common places are within the office, during manufacturing process, transportation, after production, during transportation there is an aspect, boilers or other machinery if you are using. Next thing is importance of identifying environmental aspects are understanding environmental issues. Environmental management system If you have the ability to control, this has an importance. Next one, yes. How to analyze aspect and impact is identify the process, activities and service. Whatever has the aspect, for that you need to make a flow chart in a process or in a product. You have to draw the flow chart from the starting to the cycle, completion cycle of your product. Next thing is determine environmental aspects. How many aspects are there? How many categories? As per IS 14,000, annexure A they have given 6 categories they have given. So your industry should categorize that according to the aspects. So it might be mass balance model or input output model. How much mass you are producing or effluents you are producing, you have to identify according to that. Determine environmental impacts. If you identify aspects, the same will be carried to the impacts. Then you have to track the source pathway sinking model. Where is the source for this impact? You have to check. It might be some raw material. If you change the raw material, you will get the final product as the same, but the environmental impact will be much lesser. So you have to identify the key parameter where it affects. The process might affect or pollute the air or water, or it might be a disposal that you can track by using source pathway. Next one is analyze significance. Whatever is signified, you have to take environmental risk analysis. How much risk is there when using this process or product? Then grade significance. Grade that in the sense categorize highest priority to lowest priority. This is called grading, and this will give objectives and targets. What has to be done can be taught through a sequential step. This process is called analysis. After identifying and assessing the impact, what you can do is prevent pollution. The first step is to make an environmental management system is essential for pollution prevention strategy. What are the things to access or assess? Activities, products and services which affects the environment, and valuable insights has to be taken. Comprehensive environmental management plan for minimizing the environmental footprint. So there are 5 steps in order to check the environmental impact. First one is conduct a comprehensive environmental review. The earlier topic was aspect. Now this topic is impacts. Starting of the class I have explained aspects. Now I am discussing impacts. There are 5 steps for identifying environmental impact. First one is conduct a comprehensive environmental review. When conducting this review for operations, there are 3 things: operational indicators, management indicator, environmental conditional indicator. So operations are what process you do for creating a product. This is called operations. So you have to do a comprehensive review on operations. Assessment for activity, product and service has to be done. Supply chain and other third party activities. What is supply chain? After producing, it has to be supplied to all the consumers. How you supply, how much distributors you are hiring, or how you are distributing to your customer. Then from the customer, how you take back your product. This also comes under the supply chain activities. Second thing is identifying significant environmental aspect. For impact, you have to identify the aspects. Once if you identify the aspect, find out the most significant aspect and give attention for that. If you are a manufacturing company, your aspect should be on hazardous chemical. Using carbon monoxide chemical in your car, Then the car manufacturing industry, hazardous waste is that carbon monoxide. That has to be aspected. Then third thing is evaluate the impact. If you find certain things will aspect, then you can evaluate the impacts, evaluation of potential environmental impact, likelihood and severity of impact. What is likelihood? Likelihood is when it will happen. See, if you are disposing of plastic, immediately the environment will not harm. But soon after thousands and 2000 years, this will impact. That is called likelihood. Certain things will immediately happen. Global warming will happen in 100 years. If you do something in this year, after 100 years only it might likely affect the environment. Now, global warming aspect, plant trees. The government has brought a policy, but when it will likely happen after 100 years? India is planning for 22nd century. For something should happen in 22nd century, you should do it now. So after 100 years, what does likely to happen? That is called likelihood. So if you are considering the aspect, what are the likelihood or severity of impact? Either it is very severe or less severe. So you can classify according to that. And the regulatory requirements. Fourth one is develop environmental management plan. What are the aspect, what are the impact? According to that, you have to develop a management plan. So this plan should create an action for mitigating the impacts. Whatever negative impact is there, it should have a mitigating effect. Then measurable objective and targets. The plan should be measurable. If you are executing one plan, after 100 years, what will happen? It has to be targeted. How much degree of global warming can be reduced? Has to be targeted and the plan has to be set. It has to be measurable, objective and target. Third thing is track. Track each and every year. Are you going towards the goal? You have to track it. That is the next point. Fifth one is monitoring and review of performance. After doing this 4 process, you have to do monitoring and review. Either if it is giving a positive impact on your aspect, then you can go ahead with the same plan and do the strategies. Always environmental policy is not constant. It will change according to year. First year a company is setting a policy. After 5 years the same policy will not be there. First year they might set a policy of reduction of CO2. After producing electrical vehicles, they are not going to exhaust the CO2. Now the environmental policy will be differing for that company. That is reducing electrical items, electrical wastage. So that will be their policy. So policy should be refined. Year by year it will be refined. So this is the monitor and review of environmental performance. Examples, few examples I have given. Production of toxic waste is an aspect. Identifying the toxic waste is an aspect. So the toxic waste, implementing recycling programs. What they can do is, after consuming they can use that for recycling purpose, or they can use less toxic products and methods. Next thing is, company could monitor the environment at a regular basis. So this is the process, 5 process of identifying environmental impacts. So method for identifying the aspect. First one is grouping methodology. How to find aspect and impact for an organization is focus one category at a time. Now start with activities, then move to products. In an organization, they should start with how they start manufacturing in first activity, then move slowly to product and finally to service. Now what are they is, manufacturing is one part and selling their product to each and every individual is another part. So that is why it is starting with activities, moving their products and finally reaches the service. From that you have to group. 3 groups you have to form. First one is grouping methodology. How much group you should form? Form 3 groups. What are they? How activities, how they produce their product and how they serve. These 3 you have to group. This is called grouping methodology. Activity. How to identify activity is fueling operation. For making a steel, you need to burn furnace. Furnace is you imagine a cooker. Cooker is called a furnace. You have to put iron inside and you have to burn. That will become a molten iron. Then you can make it into different shape. So what activity is happening there? Burning is an activity. During burning, what you need? Fuel is required. What kind of fuel you use or how it impacts? When you are using fuels, it emits air and it uses chemical usage and it spills. You can use another option also of biodegradable energy. Then each of this will turn into impacts. Which fuel you use? Either you use diesel, then it impacts in a different way. How? It impacts disintegration of air quality. Air, when you are using diesel, CO2 emits, so that is the degradation of air quality. So a company has to form a Excel sheet like this. What are the activities they do is office support. This parameter is called group. In group, can you see what it is written here? Activity. All are activity. Now what are the activities? For an industry, do you need office? Small office is required. In office, you need printers. You need a manager room. You need other facilities. For that, what you need? For office support, you need waste generation and disposal. Now, you need energy usage. For office, do you need power? Yes. Then you are using energy usage. Now, what is the impact? This is an aspect. Activity is office, it's an activity. Then aspect is energy usage, you need current. What is the impact? You are using natural resources. What natural resources? Coal. They are using coal. So like that you have to sort out all activities. These are office activity. Then next one is building and ground maintenance. For an office, what are the things you need? You need water. Then you need any chemicals. For ground maintenance, what are ground maintenance? You will use phenyls, you use cleaning options, Dettol you will use. These are the things you will use for building and ground maintenance. This chemical usage, depletion of natural resources. If you use pesticides, what will happen? The natural resources deplete. Okay. Next thing is fueling options. For burning or for manufacturing, how many options they use? This is called description, and if it spills, spilling is an aspect and impact is degradation of land, water, etc. Like this you have to sort it out. This is called grouping. Second thing, you have to start from the process and you have to go through all the area, whatever is there in your plant. This is called surveying methodology. Surveying methodology is an approach where geographical areas. What are geographical areas? Imagine your college is a industry. What is surveying methodology is an auditor has to visit from watchman cabin. He has to first go to that area. Then what is there? Then the main entrance is there. Then you have to go to canteen. You can go for men's hostel like that. These are called geographical area. In any industry, you have to go like that. First visit the entrance and then visit the manufacturing area. Then you go to package area. Then storage where the materials are stored. Then taken out for the services. Like that you have to visit all the areas and focus on area wise in order to identify aspect and impact. Now what are aspect and impact? From watchman gate you have to check. What does a watchman uses for monitoring? Then they are cooking foods, they are disposing their waste. There comes plastic waste and non-plastic waste, biodegradable, non-biodegradable. Like that, place wise you have to go and look into aspect and impact. This is called geographical methodology. Start from one end and finish at other end. Now, try making drawing on your facility. Now documenting location of all aspects. Now you have to write a document that from where it is started and all the location has to be logged, and everything in detail has to be written in a simple spreadsheet. Like that you have to write. Can you see the difference between previous spreadsheet and this spreadsheet? What is the difference? What is the first column there? Earlier it was activity. Now it was what? Area. Why they are giving area? Because this is geographical method. Geography particularly says area. What is this area? So your first category will be area. Then aspect and impact. But what is there for first methodology? You have activity. So activity which is compared with aspect and impact. So this is the second methodology called a surveying methodology. So first you will go to shipping and recycling, then paint room, like that they have categorized. Electrical area, you have a plumbing area. So like that you have to visit each and every area, find the energy usage. What is the impact of that place? Now third one is mass balancing methodology. It starts with input and finishes with output. This methodology purely focuses on input and output. What are your inputs for operating? Inputs might be people, equipment, chemicals. Human resource is also an input. For an industry, does people require? Yes, they will come as input. For an industry, you need equipment. Without equipment, can an industry run? No. These are all called input. So they will take these as input: chemicals, water, electricity, etc. What are all the outputs in an industry? Some people comes, some equipments are there, chemicals are used. After that, what is the output from the industry? You get product, you get solid waste, fumes, widgets. What is widgets? Calculator is a widget. Clock is a widget. Now what is the similarity for this? Clock, calculator. Unless if you give input, output will not be there. In calculator, how to use the calculator? You have to give some input, then only the answer will come. For a clock, you have to set the clock. Clock will run. If you initially set the clock right, it will show the right answer. But if you set the clock in a wrong manner, then it will not show. Like that widget is, it depends on your input, wastewater, heat radiation, etc. These are all called outputs. Now, can you see this spreadsheet? What is the first column? Input and output. So this is a methodology. According to input and output, what are your aspect and impact? If you are using equipment, what is the aspect? You can use equipment for energy, chemical, air emissions. What are your output? Depletion of natural resources and depletion of air quality, etc. Mass balancing methodology depends on what? Input and output. Now next method is back calculation methodology. Certain industries need back calculation. What do you mean by back calculation? Is for a purely technological oriented industry, this back calculation methodology is used. This is going from backwards. So list the potential impact, both negative and positive, will come at first aspect, then you will be having rest of the things. Can you see this? First column now becomes impact, next column is aspect, and third column is description or group. It might be activity, product or service. So this technique is called back calculation methodology. Potpourri methodology. Mixture of all methods is called potpourri in English. So what are the mixtures is, certain industries use 2 or more methodologies. I have discussed 4 methodologies. Certain industries use more than 2 methodology is called potpourri methodology. Combination or grouping and surveying methodology. First method is grouping. Second method is surveying. So you can combine first and second in order to find impact and aspects. So list out all activities and products, services according to that. Then move to step and repeat this. So at the end, each of this method needs little experimenting. So out of 117, categories of industries, you can use this 5 methodology, do little experimenting and find the best match for your organization. Which method is best for you? Pick method and most appealing, you can do a small brainstorming for getting the method. Now this is Potpourri methodology. You can have area and you can have group. First method I have shown you the group. Second method is area. Now both are combined. Can you see two methods are combined and aspect and impact is there.